Hi, my name is Kristin and this is Kristin Kraves Books. So you might notice that I'm in a different setup. I'm at my parents' condo by the beach for a couple months, and I did bring some books with me, and I will tour that for you later. That'll probably be my next video, but I had to do my most anticipated August releases for you, and I'm running out of time, so I don't have a ring light, so the lighting might not be great. It is a thunderstorm outside, so you might get some ambiance noise, which could be fun. So this is a bit of a different video setup, but I'm excited about it because there's so many books I am thrilled about coming out in August. One of my most anticipated books of the year. I have a countdown for it on my phone, and it is a sequel, which is odd for me, and I will gush about that book when we get there because it doesn't come out until later in the month. But the first release day of August is August 2nd, and the first book I want to share is one that I've already read, and that is Cake Eater by Alison Dolan. And this, if you can't tell by the title and this stunning cover, this is a reimagining of Marie Antoinette's story, and it is set in the future. So we are in the year 3070, and Marie Antoinette in the story is a popular social media influencer. So they call it the apps. It's Instagram really, and so she's always taking photos of herself and what she's doing, and it's all very political. Like, she really thinks about what she posts and what that means for her kingdom. And she, at the beginning of the story, she is going to Versailles, leaving her hometown behind, and she is in an arranged marriage with Louis. Obviously, if you know anything about Marie Antoinette, you kind of know where the story is going. But I really liked what this author did with this story. It's kind of a Black Mirror-esque in a way. So there are some twists and turns, and it's kind of creepy. There is a tension the entire time, and they're very happy together at first, and they're kind of thrown into being leaders, and they're trying to get their people to trust them, but it's becoming very difficult, and they realize they're being watched. There's androids around, and it all kind of just unfolds from there, and it becomes very chaotic, and it's quite good. I will say that the fake future language that the author makes up was a little bit cringy at times, but you just have to get used to it. I thought it was a fun read. I'm actually going to be part of the blog tour. I do have a blog. If you ever want to check that out, it's just KristinKravesBooks.com, and I think the first stop on the blog tour. So I'll be posting a full review with a mood board, and putting together the mood board for this was so much fun. So that'll be posted on August 1st, the day before the book comes out. I'm excited. I have to write that up, but I'm excited to work on that because I really did enjoy this book, and it was like nothing I've ever read before, so that was really interesting. Then we have a book I'm so excited for, and this is My Imaginary Mary, and it's by 3 authors, so I always forget who they are. Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. So if you recognize that author trio, they wrote those Janie series, I think it is called. The first one is My Lady Jane, My Plain Jane, that series, and I really enjoyed those quite a bit. But the first book in their new Mary series, is it My Contrary Mary? Yeah, that's what it's called. I actually think I enjoyed more than any of the books in the Janie series. They're just, obviously this is their second trilogy. Their working relationship gets better. The humor, I don't love humor in books unless it's T. Kingfisher, but it does work in this series. It's so sarcastic. The fourth wall is broken. It's ridiculous and out there, and you know that going into it. So My Imaginary Mary is Mary Shelley's story. So that alone is all I need to know about it. But then we get the added bonus of her best friend in this is Ada Lovelace, who you know from history, which is so exciting to have her included in this as well. And I think that there's kind of an invention they're making that they need support of or something, and they find out that they're both fae. So I don't historically love fae stories, but you make Mary Shelley and Ada Lovelace fae, I'm intrigued. I will read it. I love this author trio. I love the sarcasm, the humor, and I have always listened to these books on audio, and they are fantastic. So I will probably be looking on Scribd the day that comes out, because I've always found their books on Scribd, which is great. Then we have one that I have an ALC for, and I'm trying to fit it in before it comes out because I'm so excited about it. But I'm doing the T. Kingfisher readathon right now, and I have some other commitments, but I really want to get to this one so I can give you my full thoughts before release day, and that is The Book Eaters by Sonia Dean. And this is such a wild concept. It follows these people who actually eat books as though they were food, and each genre has a different flavor. I think they said one's peppery. Let me look on here, because this is just spy novels are peppery snacks. Romance novels are sweet and delicious. So that sounds fun. And then this is listed as horror. So it obviously devolves. And I think one of our main characters' child eats darker books and what transpires with that. So this could go either way. This could be really good or really strange and just not work, but I'm open to the experience. I'm just now realizing how many sequels are coming out in August that I can't wait for, and this is one that I feel like I've been waiting for it for years, and that is Husband Material by Alexis Hall, who is one of my favorite authors. Boyfriend Material came out a couple years ago, I think. I listened to it on audiobook, fell in love with it, been waiting for a sequel ever since. So it follows Luke and Oliver, and in the first one they end up in a fake dating situation and they do not get along, but they have great banter and it's really sweet. And now this story follows them together. Obviously that's how a romance goes, you know how the first one's gonna end, and they end up going to a lot of friends' weddings, and maybe there's pressure on them to get engaged, so it could be really good. I just love their relationship. I love Alexis Hall's writing. Again, fantastic on audiobook, so really excited about that, and I know that many of you are too. This one was a cover ad for me because the cover is just so good, and this is How to Fall Out of Love Madly, and that title is fantastic as well. And this is by Jana Castle, and this is one of those like Sally Rooney-esque books. I saw somebody that I follow on Instagram describe it as millennial angst and that it was wonderful, and it's been a while since I've read a book like that I really liked, and I do like Sally Rooney, so I am always looking for something like that. And I know that this follows 3 female characters. 2 of them are roommates, and they take in a tenant to help with their rent, and it is a man, and one of the girls starts having a relationship with him, the other moves out with her boyfriend, and then the one that's in the relationship with the new tenant realizes that the tenant has a girlfriend. We follow her character as well, so it's all kind of messy, and I think the one that moved out is having trouble making her boyfriend commit, so it's really just millennial angst, and I'm excited about it. This cover is just too good, and I have high hopes for this one. Next is a YA fantasy novel, and that is Wild as a Witch by Rachel Griffin, and you might recognize her. She wrote The Nature of Witches, which I do have at home, and I do plan to read this fall. I'm committed. I think I might buddy read that with Sarah from Brighton Bookish. I'm going to message them and remind them that is something that maybe we can buddy read together. But this new book from Rachel Griffin looks really great. If you tell me a book is about witches, I will be intrigued by it. The fact that the main character in this one works at like a wildlife refuge is even more intriguing to me, and I've realized I do like witch stories where the witch is ignoring their magic, suppressing their magic for whatever reason, and I know that's what is happening in this case, where magic is outlawed and she is just trying to live a normal life at this wildlife refuge. And then there is a romance as well. It is hate to love with somebody who works there and hates witches, so all that appeals to me. I cannot wait. I do want to get to The Nature of Witches first, but I'm excited about this one as well. This next one is so interesting. This is Thank You for Listening by Julia Whalen, and if you recognize that name, I feel like I talk about her all the time because she's one of my favorite audiobook narrators, and I know that a lot of people adore her as well. And I forgot that she had written The Oxford Year. That came out a few years ago and a lot of people were talking about it, but I never got to it, and I don't know that I ever made the connection that Julia Whalen was the Julia Whalen who I love. So I was thrilled to get this ALC from Librofem. Again, I don't know if I'll get to it before August 2nd, but I would love to, because this is a romance between 2 audiobook narrators. So the author's writing what she knows, which I love. And I think in this story, our main character used to do narrations for romances, but then she became a bit cynical. She didn't do them anymore, and then an opportunity comes for her to co-narrate a romance for a lot of money, and she decides to do it, and then she falls into a relationship with her co-narrator, which just sounds so fun. I don't think I've ever read a book about an audiobook narrator, and I listen to audiobooks pretty much every day, so I have connections with narrators. I love what they do, so I'm excited to read a romance between a pair of them, so I'm really excited about that. Obviously I'll be listening to it because Julia Whalen herself is a narrator. One more for August 2nd, and it is another sequel, and this is The Hookup Plan by Farah Roshan. And I read The Boyfriend Project, the first one in the series. I had an ALC of that, so before it came out a couple years ago, and I loved it. I know it got mixed reviews, but it's just like a simple romance, and I thought it was great. I love this setup of these 3 women who are all dating the same man, and they discover this, and it brings them closer. So the first book, each book follows each of their love stories. So this third one is following London, who I think is my favorite of the 3. I haven't read the second one yet. I really need to get the second one, but this third one's following London, who is a pediatric surgeon, and she is just looking for a fling, and she ends up, I think, at a high school reunion or a reunion of some kind, and enters into a relationship with somebody she knew way back when. And I don't know, I just like the friendship dynamics in here, to be honest with you, and they're always quick reads, and I always just like to find a sweet romance that are predictable but well written, and I think that is what Farrah Roshan does for me. So I need to get to the second one, and then I can listen to this third one as well. So again, I have that one on audio from that gallery, so I need to get to that as well. Okay, the first one for August 9th is again a sequel, and this is Furysong. That is part of the Aurelian Cycle series, and the first book is Fireborn, which actually, I don't think it's on this cart, but I did read it here last summer, so I think it might be downstairs. It's somewhere here, and I haven't read the second one. This is the third one. That's just the story of my life, but I loved the first one. Kristin from Kristin is Fully Booked talked about that book all the time, and I caved, even though it didn't sound like something I would love, but it reignited my love for dragons. I thought that the author's take on dragons, and who is the author, I should say, Rosiera Munda, sorry about that, but her world is so good, and the politics that she brings into play, her take on dragons is really interesting. So we're following these characters who live in a world where you can actually ride dragons and there's a competition involved, but really it's the politics that are really interesting to me. And I think in the second book that's going to be explored even more, and I'm excited about to get to Furysong and see how she concludes the story. And I know I'll be looking for Kristin's review of this. I'm sure she'll get to this before I do, and I hope that it's a satisfying conclusion, because I'm always worried about trilogies, but I just love the world in this one, and I highly recommend it. Okay, I keep repeating myself, but it's another sequel to a series where I've only read the first one, and this is Empty Smiles by Katherine Arden, and I think this is the fourth book in the series actually, and the first one was Small Spaces, and it is middle grade horror, and I wasn't sure what to think about it, but I love Katherine Arden. She wrote The Bear and the Nightingale, that series, and her writing is just beautiful, and that is so true for this series as well, or at least the first book that I read. And I was so surprised by Small Spaces. So we just follow a group of characters, we're going on a field trip, and things happen, and it gets creepy and spooky. You'll never look at scarecrows the same way again. And then I forget what the other ones are called. I think there's a Dead Voices one, Deep Waters, and then this one is Empty Smiles, and this has my biggest fear. I am terrified of clowns. I hate clowns. Even just looking at the cover freaks me out, and this is for kids. So we'll see how I go. I do like stories at carnivals, especially if they're creepy and horrific, but the clown thing, and then the little clowns walking with him, the whole thing freaks me out. So I will be listening to that eventually. I'm thinking maybe October I will marathon the entire series, reread Small Spaces, because it's been a while. Obviously I'm trying to give you the synopsis and I forget a lot of it, and then just do the whole series, because they're quick middle grades, but they're really spooky. So if you have a middle grader who likes to be spooked a little bit, I think these are good ones, but that cover is too much for me. But so excited about it still. I have an e-arc of this one, or do I have an ALC? I can't remember, but anyways, this is the Undead Truth of Us by Brittany S. Lewis, and this cover is beautiful, and you would never look at this cover and think that this is a zombie novel, but it is. And it's been a long time since I've read a zombie novel, and I've heard that this one really explores grief in a great way, which is something that I always appreciate in my novels. And our main character hates zombies. Her mother became a zombie, and that was devastating for her, and then she ends up meeting a guy that she's interested in, and he turns into a zombie before her eyes, and she maybe realizes that everything she thought about zombies may not be true. So that is the story we're exploring in here. I haven't read a good zombie novel in a long time. Give me a romance between a normal person and a zombie. I'm here for it. I was a fan of Warm Bodies, what can I say? I know this is getting cliche at this point, but if you tell me a book is similar to Knives Out, I'm gonna read it. So that is the case with These Fleeting Shadows by Kate Alice Marshall, and this has like this stereotypical creepy haunted house cover that I love, so I'm intrigued by this. I think this is YA, and it is following a girl whose grandfather leaves her this mansion, and part of the conditions of the inheritance is that she has to spend a year there, and creepy things are happening. It is haunted, so that sounds fun. I love, so that it's being compared to Knives Out and The Haunting of Hill House, so from the description that sounds pretty accurate to me, and I just think it'll be a good one to read in October. I'm always looking for those, but I have been disappointed by a lot of haunted house stories lately, so I hope this one doesn't do that. There are a lot of great covers coming up this month, but this one might be my favorite. This is The Art of Prophecy by Wesley Chu, and epic fantasy is not my thing. I'm in the middle of Malice, and I'm starting to like it, and I have the puppy war here. I loved it. So I'm trying to embrace that maybe there are some that I can like and to not avoid them. So this one caught my eye. I do like the idea of like a master and apprentice. So we're following a story where this young boy is prophesized to be the savior, and then we follow a woman who is supposed to come and help this person and realizes that this person's lazy, not been trained, it won't work. So they form a relationship where this character is determined to help train this boy, and it all goes on from there. So I do think that dynamic could be interesting, and I've seen some great reviews for this already, and I'm just trying to dip my toe into epic fantasy, and this looks like a good one to go with. Okay, August 16th, and my most anticipated book of the month, and maybe the entire year. I feel like I say that every month, but it's true this time. And that is The Oleander Sword by Tasha Suri, who I love. And my best book in July so far has been a book by her. One of my best books of last year was The Jasmine Throne, and The Oleander Sword is a sequel to that. And once I read The Jasmine Throne, it was so intricate and beautifully written, and the character dynamics were so complex. I thought we were going to be waiting years for the next one, but we only had to wait a year, and I'm thrilled about that and so happy. So the first book follows a princess and a servant who work together, fall in love. It's very deep. A lot of dynamics are going on. You find out the princess is kind of being held captive by her brother and where that all stems from, and then the magic system's really interesting. Just trust me on this. I know it's been getting some mixed reviews, and it is dense writing and complex worlds and characters and politics and all that, but it's worth it. And I've been hearing great things about the sequel. Some people say it's even better, and that makes me so happy. I can't imagine, but I am so excited. I will be dropping everything to read this. I have it pre-ordered, countdown on my phone. I'm so ready. I read a review of this next one, and they compared it to Summer Suns by Lee Mandela, which is a book I read last year and was really surprised by and really liked. So this is The Honeys by Ryan de la Sala, and this is like a summer camp story that is horror. So I think we're following these girls who are all at this elite summer camp that revolves around bees, and they have beehives and they're beekeepers. So that sounds interesting to me, and things just go on from there. And I saw a review that also said going into it knowing as little as possible is the best way to do it. So that is what I'm going to do. But the comparison to Summer Suns, they said the atmosphere of this is very much like the atmosphere of Summer Suns, which is my favorite thing about that book. So I am intrigued by this one. It feels like I've been waiting for this next book for a long time because I talk about this cover so much because it's so pretty. And this is The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd Jones, who wrote The Bone Houses, which also has a great cover, and it's a book I've been curious about. And I heard that maybe these two are connected in some way, but you don't have to read The Bone Houses to read The Drowning Woods, which is good because I don't think I will get to The Bone Houses first, but you never know. Something that's interesting about this one is that it's based on Welsh folklore, which I know nothing about. I don't think I've ever read a story like that. And our main character is a water diviner, which is also kind of cool and new to me. And I think they're supposed to be like a good group of allies that everybody comes together to save this world. So this just looks great, and again, beautiful cover. I'm sure this will be in some book boxes or something because you could do a lot of great things with this cover. This next one is one I have to read the synopsis for you because it's so well done. It's another epic fantasy, but it caught my attention, and as I said, I'm trying to embrace that maybe I do like epic fantasy. I just have to be picky about it and learn what I like. But this is The First Binding by R.R. Verdi, and the synopsis is one of the best I've read this year. So it says, "All legends are born of truth, and just as much lies. These are mine. Judge me for what you will, but you will hear my story first. I buried the village of Emperor under a mountain of ice and snow. Then I killed their god. I've stolen old magics and been cursed for it. I started a war with those who walked before mankind and lost the princess I loved and wanted to save. I called lightning and bound fire. I am legend and I am monster. My name is Ari, and this is the story of how I let loose the first evil." So I think that is epic. If you're not sold on that book, I don't know what to tell you, but that synopsis is just brilliant. So I will be reading that for sure. At least give me a try because it's long and epic fantasy, but if it's written anything like the synopsis, I'm gonna love it. And the next one is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead, who has been popular lately. She wrote In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, and then that Romance Fool Me Once, but I haven't read anything by her. But this might be the book that finally makes me do it. I've been hearing some good things. So this follows two characters, two young women who met in university, and they met this man who kind of entrapped them They were charmed by him and they kind of got caught in his web, and then they managed to escape, but years later one of them dies, and the one that's left behind thinks something bad happened here and decides to investigate her death, and she enlists the help of a podcaster, which I know there are a lot of podcasts for thrillers, but I tend to always love it, so I'm intrigued by that, and I think this could be really interesting. And I'm always looking for thrillers that I love because it's hard for me to find them, so I'm open to this one because it doesn't sound like a domestic thriller, so hopefully it'll work for me. The last book for August 16th is one of my 5-star predictions for the year, so I need to get to it, and this is Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Allison Thompson, and that name is so good. This cover is so good. It's a romance, and it's following a woman who's really into true crime, which I think a lot of people can relate to, and she has a new neighbor that moves in, and she gets the wrong idea about him. She thinks that something sinister is going down, that he's maybe murdered something, or that he's suspicious or something, and she's all wrapped up in her true crime brain, and I think they actually fall in love, so that could be really fun. And I haven't actually looked at any reviews yet because I've been waiting for this for so long. I did a 5-star prediction video, I think in January, and this was on there. So I don't want to let reviews ruin my thoughts on this one or influence me in any way. So I'm hoping that people are loving it and that I end up loving it as well. Then we have a romance. It's called Would You Rather by Alice and Ashley, and this is like a friends to lovers arranged marriage kind of story. So we're following a woman who needs a kidney transplant, and she's stuck in a job she hates, but she knows that she can't quit because she'll lose her health insurance. So her best friend decides, maybe we should get married so that you can be under my insurance, and that is what they do, and they fall in love, and I think it's going to be really sweet. And I've been hearing good things already, and it comes out in the middle of August, end of August, so it'll be a good one to wrap up the summer with. Then another romance, and this is Scandalized by Ivy Owens, and this is a romance that takes place in an airport. It is between a girl and her best friend's older brother, and I think sparks fly in the airport. Just some simple story. Sounds like a fun romance. I've been seeing some buzz for it on Bookstagram, so I added it to this list, and I think it'll be a fun like palette cleanser read. That I love this cover with the fireworks. I just think it looks sweet. Then somebody that I follow on Bookstagram is actually publishing a book this month, and I'm really excited for them, and that is You and I, Rewritten by Chip Pons. And look how cute this looks. And if you couldn't tell by the cover, this is a romance that takes place in the publishing world, so I think we're following a character named Will who just lands a new job, and he is attracted to somebody that works there named Graham, but Graham's always cold to him. And then Will has a manuscript that comes across his desk that he's really excited about, but he never hears back from the author, so he's crushed. And I think Graham kind of supports him, and they fall in love. So that sounds cute. I love Chip Pons on Instagram, so I am so happy for him. And then of course, this wouldn't be an August most anticipated list if I didn't include Babel by R.F. Kuang. Everybody's excited about this. I watched so many mid-year freakout tags this year, and everybody said their most anticipated book of the year is Babel, and myself was included in that. So if you don't know, R.F. Kuang wrote The Puppy War, so we already know that her writing is fantastic. And R.F. Kuang just as a person is really fascinating and interesting, and a good follow on Twitter. But Babel it's a Victorian London, I believe is the setting, and in this world, language is magic. And there are a ton of wonderful reading vlogs of people who have already received an ARC that I've been watching, and I don't think I've seen a negative thing about this book. So that is high priority for me, and I know it will be for a lot of you as well. This next one is Haven by Emma Donoghue, who wrote The Room, The Wonder, The Pull of the Stars, all books I loved. I'm unsure about this one, so we'll see what I think about it. And the blurb here says, around the year 600, 3 men vow to leave the world behind and set out in a small boat for an island their leader has seen in a dream, with only faith to guide them. So I think religion's going to be in here a lot. I believe there are monks, so I'm not sure how I will feel about it, but I do really like Emma Donoghue, so I'm open to it. I will definitely give that a try. And then this next one is one that I think is perfect if you're looking to get into the Halloween spirit, but in a fun, cozy way. And this is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. And look at this cover, it looks so fun. And it says, as one of the few witches in Britain, Micah Moon knows she has to hide her magic, which I said before, if a witch has to hide her magic, I love that for some reason. Keep her head down and stay away from other witches so their powers don't mingle and draw attention. And as an orphan who lost her parents at a young age and was raised by strangers, she's used to being alone, and she follows the rules, with one exception, an online account where she posts videos pretending to be a witch she thinks no one will take seriously. And then I think what happens is that somebody does take her seriously watching these videos, and she's invited to this secret society. And I've heard that found family in here is really wonderful, which is probably my favorite trope of all time, and this just looks like a good time to me. This next book is one that I have a ALC from Libro FM, and I almost screamed when I saw this was one of the choices. I am so excited for this book, and that is The Undertaking of Hart and Mercy by Megan Bannon. And this, I want to tell you about this here. Hart is a marshal tasked with patrolling the strange and magical wilds of Tanria. It's an unforgiving job, and Hart's got nothing but time to ponder his loneliness. And then Mercy has never had a moment to herself. She's been single-handedly keeping Birdsall and Son undertakers afloat in defiance of the sullen jerks like Hart, who seem to have a gift for showing up right when her patience is thinnest. And then I think they start secretly writing letters to each other, but they don't realize who they're writing letters to, so it's a hate to love romance, and it looks so fun. And this cover is pretty epic, and I've been hearing great things, so that sounds like such a good one. Okay, the last day, and that's August 30th, and I will try to get through this quickly because this video is going longer than usual, and they're always long videos. But the first one is Taste of Gold and Iron by Alexandra Rowland, and this is a romance between a prince and a bodyguard, which I have recently realized that I love the bodyguard trope. And this says, princes can taste precious metal with their fingers, and myth runs side by side with history. Counterfeiting is hearsay, and the conspiracy they discover could cripple the kingdom's financial standings and bring about its ruin. So, sounds fun. Okay, this next one, it was definitely a title and cover ad for me. I don't even think I read the synopsis, but this is Suburban Hell by Maureen Kilmer, and just looks fun. So what does it say here? Amy Foster considers herself lucky, and she left the city and went full minivan. She found her place quickly with neighbors Liz, Jess, and Melissa, together snarking the mom mafia from the outskirts of the PTA mom crowd. So one night during their monthly wine get-together, the newfound crew concocts a plan for a clubhouse she shed in Liz's backyard. The perfect space for just them, no spouses or kids allowed. But the night after they're christened the space with a ceremonial drink, things start to feel off. What they didn't expect was for Liz's little home improvement project to release a demonic force that turns their quiet suburban enclave into something out of a nightmare. So this could be fun and sarcastic and quirky and just a good time. So that could be a good one to read in October in between some of the heavier stuff I plan to read. And of course, last but not least, Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I know people had mixed opinions on Malibu Rising, but I really enjoyed it. I don't have strong opinions about Carrie Soto from that book. So Carrie Soto was like a side character in Malibu Rising, and now she's getting a full story. So we'll see what I think, but I have been hearing great things, and I know that this revolves around tennis, and I did play tennis growing up. I do appreciate tennis, so that could be intriguing for me. I've realized I do kind of like sports in my books. I know it's not for everybody, but it's something that I'm starting to realize I do enjoy, so I will definitely be trying that. I have loved all of, I was going to say T. Kingfisher, but T. Kingfisher on the mind. I've liked all of Taylor Jenkins Reid's like newer stuff. I've tried to read some of her deeper backlists, and it haven't worked for me as well, but I'm intrigued of how this story will connect to Malibu Rising. So that is all that is coming out in August that I'm excited about. I'm sure I missed some. If there's one on here that you were excited about, let me know. If there's any I missed, I'd love to hear about that as well. Thanks for sitting through all this entire video, and sorry about this new arrangement. I hope that the sound and everything is okay, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye for now.